And I want to thank you for the tremendous job you continue to do on behalf of our party and the country.
Thank you. Well, before we go any further, quite a lot of things for us to discuss tonight. But as the chairman of the New Democratic Party, as we get closer and closer to an election, I don't know if you want to bring us up to speed as to the party's readiness and preparation for elections?
Yeah, thank you, Colin. Clearly, now is the time to be a part of the New Democratic Party. Now is the time to be the engine of change, and now is the time for us to salvage our country from the grips of this administration that has destroyed everything that's good about us as a people. And this is none more clearly expressed than in the surge of competent, quality people that are coming forward to be candidates for the New Democratic Party. We find ourselves in a very intriguing situation where in several of our constituencies we have a number of really competent, talented men and women coming forward, vying to represent us in several constituencies. And that contrasts significantly with the lackluster slate of the old guard, people who have been resurrected and brought back. And there's difficulty among the other camp, and even now trying to find people to represent them. And they have such a paucity of people wanting to be on the dying train. So the New Democratic Party is the team that the country is energized about. We have Dr. Friday, whose leadership is exemplary, and he has been able to put together a marvelous team. And we just can't wait for the task ahead of salvaging this country and putting it back on a course not unfamiliar to the people of this country. You only have to go back to the last NDP administration, Colin, when NDP government was able to get the economy going, was able to get people working, and really people felt that they were free to do what is right and proper without being victimized. People felt that they can work, and they can, if they have something before the court, they can go before the court, and once the court decides, the government will comply. We have had so many instances where this government has failed in the court, matters gone before the court, yet the persons who have won have not been paid, have not had their justice. And you know, government's not supposed to be like that. We must abide by the law, and we must follow. And what is painful about it is that this person who acts as Prime Minister now, as illegitimate as it is calls himself a lawyer and has a number of lawyers on his team. Yet this has been the most lawless government we've seen. So Colin, yes, we are excited and we are anxious for the bell to ring so that people can get the government that the country deserves, that the country has been calling for some time.
The president and the leader of the New Democratic Party says the NDP is the hottest ticket out there right now. You agree with him?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I couldn't put it better myself. And what is even more important is that the people are calling, yes, the people of the country feel that way. And I tell you the honest truth, I feel that in every part of the country that I go. You know, I'm very often in my own constituency walking about, and I get that very, very strong feeling, especially from people who hitherto supported this current regime, and they are in the droves.
All right. Mr. Cummings, you are the New Democratic Party's spokesperson on health-related matters in this country. One of the current issues right now is St. Vincent and the Grenadines now has 21 active COVID-19 cases in just the space of 9 days after the arrival of 2 American airline flights. I want to get your feedback in on how do you feel about the current health situation that we're in now as it relates to COVID-19 and the latest cases that we have in this country?
Colin, that is a very painful matter. Even as we speak of the number of COVID cases recently detected, one is bothered by the fact that there may be many more. because of the poor way in which the bringing back of people into the country has been managed. Let me quickly remind our listeners and viewers, this government has not closed our borders, not throughout all of the COVID scenario. What has happened is that there are places where airlines want to be flying, and so St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been quick to jump on the bandwagon. And it has not been properly planned or executed. To tell me that in a time like now, when you're bringing people from one of the hottest hotspots in the world, to ask people to do voluntary quarantining, tells me you don't care about the people of this country. It tells me that your interest is seeing passengers coming back and hopefully recovering your dead economy, and that you do not bother yourself with the fact that you are exposing the population of this country to unnecessary risk. That, in my humble opinion, is not what one expects of a true leader. And that is what is exemplified here.
Head of the World Health Organization recently warned nations and governments throughout the world to look seriously at what is happening and don't rush to, as they would say, free up and to open back up, because there is a second wave of COVID-19 that we can see and experience. Now here we have it that our government, this present ULP administration, has once again seemingly gone ahead opening back up its airports, issuing new protocols, and then having to reissue new protocols again. Many would see this as fumble after fumble.
Just let me first of all, Colin, point out, it's not that they're opening back up the airport. The airport was never closed. They've never closed the ports, they've never closed the airport. The aircrafts were not coming because the airlines were not flying.
Right.
But we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the only Caribbean country that left our borders open. And it's very interesting you should mention that, because within the region, Trinidad and Tobago is ranked #1 in the world in the way it has handled COVID-19. And up to now, Trinidad nationals are not allowed to come back to Trinidad, even within the election confines, even for health issues, because the government has decided the risk is not worth the chance of bringing back people, especially if you're coming from certain parts of the world. So let us look at the World Health Organization recommendation, Colin, but let's bring it down to the Caribbean. A few weeks ago, Antigua started bringing people in, and look at the disaster. They had many cases in a short period of time. But compare and contrast that with Barbados. Barbados has restarted in a limited, controlled way. They're bringing back of tourists. But the protocols that Barbados has put in place have people literally going through hoops.
Right.
They have everything down to a T. You have to do this, and then you do that, and so on and so forth. And there's active monitoring, and it's careful. You see the results.
Right. So we have to, our protocols may be too laid back.
We don't have protocols. We have joke. We have joke. I mean, Colin, what is protocol? If you're telling me that people coming in are required to do 24-hour quarantine, what is protocol about that? The evidence suggests that the period for incubation of this changing virus, it's mutating all the time, it is anywhere from 14 to 21 days. But you're telling me you put in place a quarantine for 1 day, and you tell me you're serious about protecting the people of this country? No wonder we are in where we are today. That is a joke.
No, obviously there are plenty of implications here. We're putting our health system, right, to the test where it has already been tested by COVID-19. How do you feel about the present state of our healthcare and what we offer as healthcare here in this country, given now what we are seeing with COVID-19 and the risk that is exposing us to?
Again, thank you, Colin. In a normal situation, this would be troubling. But St. Vincent and the Grenadines has an acute healthcare delivery problem. In the best of times, we are pushed to the limit to deal with basic healthcare issues. And when you, on top of that, expose our country to this dilemma, this COVID-19 pandemic, in a most reckless manner, it throws the whole healthcare system into tailspin. Colin, I don't want to delve into the failures of the healthcare system in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because some of our viewers might be scared. But it is an issue. It is a very, very serious issue. We have serious deficiencies in the delivery of healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that is one of the reasons why it is so unfortunate that this government would choose to expose the population to such a serious risk, a risk for which there is no solution. As we know, a vaccine is far off, and our ability to deal with this thing in mass numbers is, to say the best, frightening.
But why would you seemingly think that a government would be taking such a risk?
Again, that's an excellent question. There is no secret that this man who heads this country is a political animal. And it is my belief that he is testing the waters so that he will be able to say, look, when I bring my people from overseas to come and vote, what you're complaining about? I bring all the Vincentians who wanted to come home for funeral or something. So if I bring people now to vote, his objective is regularizing the bringing home of people. So you dump them, those who want to come, and understand what's happening with the flights that are coming in now. The flights are coming out of Miami. But Vincentians are coming from New York, they're coming from all over the US of A. Because wherever they find an opportunity to jump on a plane, but to Miami right now it is.
Right.
But they're coming from the hot zones. They're coming from areas where the thing is spiking. And the protocols that have been put in place do not safeguard those who are on the plane. Sometimes they give you the impression, okay, so you tested before you got on the plane and you arrive in St. Vincent, and you test one day after and you don't have any positive results, so you're cleared. I mean, these kinds of actions from people who are trained in medical care, including medical doctors, when the world knows that you could be negative today, come on the plane with somebody who has it contracted a day, 5 days after, you haven't developed the symptoms yet, but you're already a carrier, although you're asymptomatic. So this is a complex issue you're dealing with, and that is why the requirement to quarantine all of the people who either test positive or were exposed is one way of making sure you cut the spread. That is how sensible government managers think.
Are you
No, I'm not surprised at all. They'll hold a press conference and say, look, we are COVID free. We have so many people had it and they all lose it. So we're COVID free. Nothing about how many tests you do, nothing about the random testing, but we're COVID free. But now you've created this serious negative change. No, they're not going to hold a press conference to tell us about that, because there will be some journalists who want some specific answers. Why you do this? How are you going to deal with that? So they don't want that.
How does all of this tie in now to a pending upcoming elections in the country?
Again, Colin, I said, in my humble opinion, they want to be able either, one, to create a state of emergency by spreading this disease all over before I say another word, Colin, let me urge intentions and visitors to this country. If you have to be moving about in public, I humbly beg you to wear a mask. Protect yourself and protect others if you are a carrier. Because it seems to me that there's some kind of death wish on the part of this government, either to create a state of emergency or to create an environment where they can bring in more people from overseas in an attempt to rig the election.
All right.
Either way, it's not good for us. An NDP government would put people's health first.
All right. Let's jump into elections, and let's jump into the constituency of West Kingston. Once again, you're the New Democratic Party's elected representative for West Kingston. Clearly, a constituency that is satisfied by your representation. But obviously, there's still a lot more work that needs to be done within the constituency. And I'm sure now that we have you here on this platform, you will bring us up to date in terms of what are some of the issues that you're still facing within your constituency that you would love to see fixed and would love to have resolved, not as an opposition MP this time, but a government MP.
Again, I call him, you're spot on. For me, the most difficult thing with being the representative of this constituency is not being in a position to do the work that is so obvious to be done. Since John Horn left, God rest his soul, just look at the road network in West Kingston. There has been precious little. I mean, the conditions of the existing roads have just been allowed to deteriorate. There's been no maintenance of the building, there's no expansion. Even the very school in Edinburgh that was constructed was a project started by the New Democratic Party. It was supposed to be a primary school, they've converted it into a secondary school. There's so much, Colin, to be done. But blessings come in different form and fashion. You know, over these near 10 years now, I have been the parliamentary representative for West Kingston, and 5 years as a senator. I have had the opportunity to visit. I'll be careful and say about 99% of the households in the constituency. There are very few homes that I have not personally visited, but it afforded me an opportunity to meet with so many people and to listen to their concerns and to share some of our ideas. And so it has readied me in a very special way for the tremendous amount of work that we have to do. I can't wait for the opportunity to be able to look the families in the eye and, you know, make sure that in every household at least one person is meaningfully employed, to see that there are opportunities for people coming out of school, to find that the employment is varied, that people are given opportunities where they can do self-employment and these kind of things. So, quite apart from the tremendous amount of physical infrastructural work to be done, the work with our people, developing skills, helping with adult education and training, putting people back to work. There are so many. I really have a special word of thanks to the people of West Kingston who have reposed that confidence in me, and I am looking forward to the opportunity to be in the next government of the New Democratic Party and to bring to reality some of the dreams that the people of West Kingston share and are looking forward to seeing.
All right. You identified roads and employment as two of the main things that you would really like to focus on in your constituency. You've had mentioned many times before about the road network in West Kingston to help to ease the congestion in terms of the number of persons who move in and out of the leeward side of the island. How do you plan to propose and to fix all of this?
I call in, there are several road projects that we in West Kingston will be embarking upon very early in an NDP term. The principal one is the link road that would allow the people of the leeward side of the island to have an alternative route. From Kingston to Chateaubelair, there is a single road at the moment. I repeat, From Kingston to Chateaubriand, there's a single road. You go from the north, from the hospital road, up to Gibson Corner, into Camden Park, and you follow the Leeward Highway all the way. Single road, no alternative. Many a time you've had a trailer overturned in Gibson Corner or Lowmans, and people are stuck for hours on the road. There is no other way of getting in or out of North Leeward. Colin, we have been begging this so-called government for years. Look at the road going into Edinburgh, Otley Hall. It is not difficult to continue that road into Lowmans Bay and then into Camden Park and then joining back with the Leeward Highway. Right from the city, you have one exit all the way to the Leeward. But we go further. If you are in the Otley Hall, Edinburgh area, and the road is blocked, you can't come into town. There is a short piece of road that is required to link Edinburgh with Montrose that can get people from Otley Hall and Edinburgh into Kingston if the main road is blocked. And the road is under repair right now from the cemetery into Edinburgh because that bank has been exposed for the longest while. A very short piece of road will do that. You go into Edinburgh itself and follow from Edinburgh into Otley Hall. Most people don't know that the road at Castle Grant, so you go in by Dr. Garraway's hospital and you go right off to the ridge. There is a distance of about 100 yards that will link that road with Otley Hall. So that if again there's a problem on the Leeward Highway in the area of Lowmans,
right,
and you can't pass the Gibson Corner route, you just turn in by Dr. Garraway and you go off the peak and you into Otley Hall and you into Kingston. But there's a short distance, about 100 yards, that they have not linked the roads. That is a priority for us, it will be done. You go into Edinburgh by the school, Colin. The bottom road, there's a John Horn started building a link road to link Middle Road with the bottom road in Edinburgh, straight up from the school. It has not been touched. Again, less than 100 yards will be able to allow the vans entering Edinburgh from the bottom to come all the way and make the loop so that people can have their stuff dropped off closer to their home. You can also take that road up from Middle to Top Road in Edinburgh so that you have all the flexibility of vans moving every direction. People building their houses won't have to drop the materials on the main road and then pay the same amount to have them move to where you're constructing because the vehicles will be able to come right to your premises. These infrastructure projects that we are going to embark on in West Kingston are not just issues of transportation, Colin. They will be creating loads of employment opportunity for various people. Because we'll be doing this through small contracts, employing the local people, not as currently obtains, where one set of people are doing all the projects in this country. Through fair competition, the local people will be given an opportunity to be involved in the construction of their roads. So it's creating the infrastructure, but very importantly, creating the opportunity for employment for hundreds of young people who want to do that. Colin, you know, there's a project that I spoke about on my very first venture into politics in 2005 that is still burning and will be executed. Sometimes we take it for granted, the kind of sites that we have in Kingston. If you look at the ridge that divides Otley Hall from Upper New Montrose, it goes all the way across, linking all the way back with Castle Grant. But there is a peak on top of that hill overlooking Kingston that has a 360-degree panoramic view. You can, for a short piece of road again from Otley Hall leading to that, tourists can be taken up there and have a magnificent view of Kingston, the Leeward, and all around. There I know in years gone by, some of the guides used to carry those discerning tourists from the cruise ship in particular to walk up, but conditions have gotten so bad. Colin, it does not take much to build an information center at the crown of that hill. Build a road, of course, with the access. Build an information center. And the people of Otley Hall and surrounding area will be able to sell their arts and crafts and specialty food. That you can take out photographs with the tourists and all of the attractions that go with that. Tremendous site, very little investment, but the cruise ship passengers will have another spectacular reason to come to Port Kingston. And we know that my colleague from the North Leeward, the constituency, Patel, has the most magnificent proposal for any cruise ship passenger thing in the Caribbean. We in Kingston will be adding something to that because Kingston is beautiful. It has, Colin, if you try to go to Fort Charlotte today, you will be appalled. The fans don't go up there.
Yeah.
The tourists have to walk up.
The road is terrible.
Not the road, there's no road. There used to be a road leading to Fort Charlotte. Not even the donkey cart can go up there now.
So clearly,
the bridge has not been repaired. So the infrastructure work in West Kingston, completely neglected. I have my hands full, but I'm up to the task by the grace of God.
And clearly, West Kingston will continue to have the great representation that they already have with you, sir, Mr. Daniel Comment. I want to say goodnight to those of you who are watching us on Facebook as well as YouTube. Remember, you can submit your questions to the chairman here tonight. You could leave your questions under the comment section of our live Facebook stream. And of course, we will ask the questions here tonight. So let us say goodnight to Peter. And Peter, thank you very much for watching. And Peter's question for you tonight, Mr. Cummins, is there anything being done to avoid the rigging of the impending election to come? We've seen most recently what went on at the Central Leeward registering process. We know what went on at the 2015 general election. So I guess his question tonight is, what are we going to do to protect ourselves that what happened in 2015 doesn't happen again in this general election?
I like the question. I thank Peter for it. It's a matter that should not be for me alone or for the candidates of the New Democratic Party. I keep saying to us as a people, every one of us has got to be a monitor. That is why you see Ben Exeter and all the candidates are visiting every registration center and making sure only people who are qualified to be registered are allowed to register. We understand the laws. When you look at the election petitions still before the court, and you see the number of irregularities that took place, I want to give the public this bit of assurance. This government will never be able to come in an election again with a ballot paper that does not reflect the law of the land. The ballots are to be designed in a particular way to preserve the people's privacy in how they vote. And you must be able to verify that every ballot paper in the box is a legitimate ballot by having the stamp and the signature of the presiding officer. Colin, our people have been trained and retrained and retrained and screened and retrained and so forth. Tremendous amount of work is going on. But I want to charge the public of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to understand that the election is not about NDP or Daniel Cummings or Dr. Friday or any of our candidates. It's about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the more you, as a citizen, inform yourself about what the ballot paper should look like, what the ballot box should look like, how the presiding officer is authorized to function, and you see something is wrong, you have a responsibility to point it out. Point it out, not in any offensive way. The law gives you the responsibility to bring it to the attention of the presiding officer and record your complaint. Our agents are also very well trained and they will know what to do. But again, thank you for that question, and I urge every Vincentian This election is about you. Make sure every one of your children of age is registered. Make sure that your friends are registered. Make sure that you point out to people who you care about the importance of selecting a good government, not a right government, a government for the people of this country. The challenge is for all of us, and yes, God, we in the New Democratic Party are doing all that we can, and we urge your support to make sure together we get it done.
All right. Would the NDP be taking serious action against persons who try to go against the will of the registering process and the whole electoral process itself?
But quite clearly, if you know, follow the radio programs and other media, our Senator Kevakis Batiste has been doing some fantastic programs informing and educating the public about the representation of the People's Act. This is a deliberate exercise. One, to let people know what is right and what is wrong, and to let them know what are the penalties associated with transgressing the law. We feel this exercise is critical. You know, what is ironic, in any normal society, it is the office of the supervisor of election that should be running these educational programs. But instead, here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have an incident where the supervisor of election is going to a registering station to make sure that a candidate interested in what's taking place is not permitted to see what is happening. How can one have confidence that that system is above board? If I were the supervisor of election and any member of the public wants to see that the process is above board, I would be delighted.
But
open it up.
Is there anything barring individuals from witnessing the registering process?
And that is again what makes it even more ridiculous. There is nothing in the law that prevents any person want to have an interest in this to see what is going on. There is nothing. Hey, listen, if you look at the list of electors, Colin, it's not even your age, your date of birth, it's not on it. All it says is your name and where you live. That's all the information that you give. So what is private? What is so concerning? I mean, in any regular country, the office that supervises an election is delighted when people take an interest in seeing that the process is fair. Here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have a registering officer decided, I am not registering anybody if you want to see what I am doing. I mean, if that doesn't ring alarm bells in the minds of right-thinking people, I don't know what else. And when the supervisor of election makes it worse by going the next occasion and prevents people from seeing, it makes you wonder what is going on.
But I think there are provisions in the Representation of the People's Act that such things there can be penalties and punishments brought on if you're found in violation of all of this.
But you have to be taken to the court.
Right.
You have to be taken to the court.
All right. So we have to be extra vigilant this time around. All right, Mr. Cummins, as chairman of the New Democratic Party, already the NDP has seemingly been out front with their election campaign. Forced to really be online with its virtual meetings time and time again every Thursday night. The New Democratic Party has been presenting a strong front.
But even before that, Colin, don't forget last year we started our local
village
meetings.
Right, with the village meetings before COVID.
In West Kingston, we started our meetings and several other constituencies joined it. We were going into every community and delivering the message throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that message is continuing in a different forum, virtual forum. The message is going out there.
Are you happy and satisfied with the direction and the campaign that the New Democratic Party has been going on so far?
Almost definitely. The party is people-focused. The New Democratic Party's vision and mantra is about the development of the people of this country. You hear Dr. Friday talk repeatedly. The number one target is jobs. The number two target is jobs. The number three target is jobs. These are not idle talk. This is coming out of the reality we have in this country, a very depressed economy. You know, so the Citizens My Investment Program is a catalyst. It's not the end all, but you have to jumpstart the economy. You have to bring back the development bank that give young people an opportunity to grow. But in all of that, you can have the best product, you can have the best service. If there isn't an economy, people don't have money, what's the point?
The question that always comes up every election time, as it relates to the New Democratic Party, is why should we vote for Team NDP? Why should we vote for an NDP government?
Because the NDP is the only change. And I'm glad you asked that question, Colin, because a lot of the young people today, anybody 30, 35 and under, like our lovely PRO, really don't have the concept of what good governance is, because they really have not seen the New Democratic Party government in action. All they have been exposed to is what passes for governance under this ULP. But Colin, look at Dr. Friday's track record, his training, his work in Canada, his work in St. Vincent and again, his leadership of the party. You have people like Major Leacock, a business, well-trained, experienced person. You have people like Nature, you have people like Patel, we have new recruits like Senators, Kay Batiste and Isabel Bruce, and the list goes on. These are people with proven track record of service to the people of this country. And that is what we are bringing to transform this country from a beggar-maid into a can-do, will-do society. That is a transformation that will take place above board, where equity is driving everything. Colin, I want our listeners and our viewers to see how one family has all the cake. You know, check it out. Whether they're working at the United Nations, whether they came in as senator and made Minister of Foreign Affairs and then Minister of Finance and want to be given the seat of governance. You know, that the family members are involved in, if you look at the Argyle Airport, see how many members of that particular family are the only beneficiaries of any commercial activities associated with that. See how the tentacles spread throughout the society. But your child and mine, we have to struggle to get them to secondary school and then to university or to nursing school or teacher, and they're stuck. They can't come back from university with loans to pay and can't even find a job. I can tell you of at least 4 persons I know close at hand in West Kingston who have good quality first degree, back here for more than a year and can't find anything to do. Can't find anything to do, including island scholars. You know, this is not acceptable. This is not normal. And what we are saying to our listeners and viewers is, if you compare the other countries of the OECS, where salaries are substantially above ours, where employment levels are way better than ours, when the government tells you 46% of the youth are unemployed, you know it's closer to 60, 70. And since COVID, it's closer to 90.
Wow.
Because I'm telling you from my own experience walking through West Kingston, Colin, this 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 young people have anything to do in West Kingston, in the heart of the city. And, you know, it is painful. And that has to go. So those are the reasons why people want a change. Because an NDP government is hell-bent on creating employment, creating equity, and giving justice to people. Not this kind of lawlessness, not this kind of terrible governance that we have been facing for so long. That must come to an end.
And with that being said, we're going to come to the end of our program tonight. But just before we go, Mr. Cummins, yeah, the time flies. It's amazing, eh? Time flies. But before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to once again leave a parting word for your constituents and by extension, the voters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who clearly will be going to the polls this time around to make a serious decision as it relates to the future of our country, and I want you to speak directly to them and leave a message with them.
Thank you very much, Colin. My friends, if you know me, you know what I have done in my life thus far. I've given a commitment to this country. I've served as an engineer, I served as a manager of the CWSA, and you know where the CWSA was and where it is today. You know of the transformation in solid waste management under my watch and that of Monty Hall as chairman under an NDP government. You're seeing water expanded to every part of our country and treatment systems on the critical sources. Most importantly, the CWSA kept water rates constant for 15 straight years under an NDP government while expanding the service. How? By equity, by trust, by training, encouraging and empowering people to excel to the highest levels, by taking field staff out of the drain, out of their daily tasks and putting them into an air-conditioned room and training and developing them to the point where they can pass CXCO levels, and more importantly, complete transformation in their modus operandi. That is the model that the New Democratic Party offers the people of this country. Putting our people back to work, empowering you, giving you equal opportunity regardless of your political or other persuasions. You must have a fair chance, and once you are prepared to have the discipline and to work hard, we will create the opportunity that your children can watch you in the face and feel proud of you, and not have, when you get sick, to go up to the complex or to use raffle sheet, but to be able to know that through a national health insurance program, you'll be able to get basic health care. That nobody is going to want you to come up the complex and perform any unusual task to get what is rightfully yours. Leadership and equality, Dr. Godwin Friday. I am very, very honored to be part of his team with the able-bodied men and women that will bring St. Vincent from the quagmire into the land of equality, justice, fair play, and equal opportunity. I thank you. Good night.
All right. And well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The chairman of the New Democratic Party, he is also the elected representative for West Kingston, the Honorable Daniel Cummins. You can see him again. He will be our guest here again next week alongside the president of the New Democratic Party, Dr. the Honorable Godwin Friday, as we talk about Otley Hall and much more going forward for the future of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the NDP Monday Night Live.